Good morning. Over the past 3.5 years, I've been on a healing and spiritual journey for which most people, I think, would consider one of those life-changing events. It most certainly was for me. This morning, I'm going to talk about a few of the things I've learned in this process and how I've changed as a result. Before I talk about them, however, there are a few things that you need to know. The first is, I've been living with Crohn's disease for over 30 years, and ulcerative colitis for over 10. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Crohn's and colitis, they are both diseases of inflammation in the intestinal tract. I've had 5 surgeries for my Crohn's. I've been hospitalized several other times, have been taken by ambulance to the emergency room for anemia, tried well over a dozen medications, and on and on and on. 4 years ago, I weighed only 125 pounds. I needed to take a nap every day. I was so tired. I had a very limited diet. And I could tell you where every rest area is from New Hampshire to Provincetown. Needless to say, with 2 very active boys, life in our house was a daily struggle. Right, Jeffrey? The second thing is, 3.5 years ago, I was referred to by a friend to an acupuncturist named Larry Callum, who also practiced other complementary medicine techniques. In hindsight, it was my work with Larry that was the start of a healing process, not only for my GI issues, but for my overall health as well. Now, Larry was a bit of an odd character, and to many, the work that he did was even more bizarre. So much so that my wife, Diane, would often refer to him as Quacky Duck. I have since worked with several other non-traditional practitioners, which I guess you could call my raft of quacky ducks. The last thing that you need to know is that as I stand here this morning, after 3.5 years of hard work, my weight is up, my energy level is much better. I'm eating a wider variety of foods, and though I don't yet have diagnostic proof, I'm pretty sure that I am Crohn's and colitis free. You can clap if you'd like. Now, to make this morning a bit more fun, as I describe what I've learned in all of this, I'd like your help. As I mention each insight over the next few minutes, I'm going to raise my hand and show a number of fingers. And when I do, I'd like you all to simply say, "Aha!" So, if I raise my hand and show one finger like this, you would say, "Perfect!" So, this might seem like an odd question, but by a show of hands, how many of you would say that I have a foot? Okay, now, how many of you would say that I have a soul? So for most of my life, I would have said yes to both of these questions, though without really understanding what it was I was saying. As part of my recent journey, what I've come to more fully understand and appreciate is that I really do have a soul. that is something real, not just some abstract concept. Of course, as is often the case, that understanding leads to as many questions as it does answers. For instance, if I have a soul that is something real, then what is it made of? I'll leave that question for another day. Instead, the next thing I've come to learn has to do with connectedness. For example, we've all heard of the mind-body connection between the way how we think can impact how our bodies heal. What I've come to discover is that there is a similar relationship between my body and my soul. And in particular, that my body and my soul need to be integrated and aligned in order for me to be physically healthy. This may sound really weird, but several of my quacky ducks have described how my soul was actually outside of my body, creating a disconnection between the two. And as a result, this disconnect was one of the contributing factors to my GI issues. Now, before I get to my final aha, I have another question for you. If it's the case that we have a soul, then what does our soul do? What's its purpose? I know that I have feet and they help me to walk. I know that I have eyes that allow me to see. So what does our soul do? What I've come to believe is that, among other things, my soul helps me to feel, to have feelings. Now, here's where today's story starts to tie together. Once again, according to my quacky ducks, when I was a young boy, I struggled with a set of emotions that were really hard for me to deal with or even communicate. So, being the pragmatist that I am, I simply shut my feelings off. As a result, no more pain. However, by shutting off my feelings, I also effectively pushed my soul away from my body. And by creating this disconnect, I removed one of the things that my body needs in order to stay healthy. Fortunately for me, I found a number of quacky ducks who could help me to re-engage my feelings and to reconnect my body and my soul in the process.